My name is Bill Lacey. I'm with the Association for Corporate Health Risk Management, acronym for short. Today, I'm going to be focusing on another element from a legal standpoint, and that is we're calling this session Legal Update, Patient Surprise Billings, Hospital Monopolistic Practices, and this is happening across the country. And the reason we're bringing this together, it touches some of the themes of the conference: alignment, patient-employer choice, and relationship. Managing a self-funded plan is a critical piece of that. So that's why we want to bring this forward. So Frank, to get us started, can you please share with our audience exactly what is a surprise bill or a balance bill? What are we talking about when we talk about these concepts?
Well, balance bills and surprise bills have been actually occurring for quite a while. A balance bill, I think, and people get them all the time. And I've got really two different definitions of that. One is that what you use with a traditional PPO, whereby an employee or a member has a medical service. Claim is adjudicated by the administrator. They get an explanation of benefits and says, this is what you owe. And presumably they're going to get a corresponding bill from the medical provider that equals that amount. As I said, in a traditional insurance setting. Now, when we start talking about other payment forms, those two, the EOB and the bill, may not match. And that's what we're going to talk a little bit about later. The surprise bill is really referencing, typically non-network type services, and an employee not knowing or a member not knowing what the cost of those services are. So it occurs all the time. It's just in what way, shape, or form does it confuse the member?
And Frank, I know charge master seems to be a concept that potentially establishes some in the pricing mechanism. Can you give us a little background in the charge master?
Every hospital has what's called a charge master. Every hospital's charge master is different because they all offer different services. But it's a voluminous file of everything that hospital offers you and I when we walk in the door. It's everything from ibuprofen to the ICU, and its related price, its related cost. So when a PPO comes in, an insurance company PPO comes in and negotiates their PPO discount, I call it top-down pricing. It's a discount off of billed charges. It's a discount off that charge master. The problem we have in this country, and Doug knows this firsthand as well as do you, Bill, there's no laws, no rules, no regulations about what the prices can be. The sky's the limit, the CFO's limit. So it's problematic. So if an insurance company comes to me and says, hey, sell our program, we got the best discounts going, my cynical response is, discount off of what?
Exactly. If you let me set the price, I'll give you a 99% discount every time.
There you go.
Yep. It sounds like going into a shopping mall or a retail clothing center where suddenly we see a 60% clearance sale, but again, 60% discounted off of what? They could have marked the prices up the day before or that morning. So another market situation I would bring into the discussion before I pivot over to Doug is health systems, as I like to say it, health systems are either acquiring, being acquired, or shutting down. And what we're seeing here is a consolidation in many, many, many markets across the country where we used to have multiple health systems. Now we're getting down to maybe 1, 2, possibly 3 in some of the larger markets, but which is driving prices up. And there's, again, I'm calling it pricing, but we don't really see what the pricing is as consumers. It's something that happens after the services are being provided. So, Frank, what are you seeing in terms of pricing, quality of care? What's happening right now with health systems?
Well, I'm in, I reside in a rather rural area, and some of these little county seat hospitals are struggling, and the only way that they can afford to keep their doors open is to continue to raise prices. We're seeing a consolidation with acquiring physician practices. That's happening everywhere. I'm originally from Northwest Ohio. There's a hospital system there that's very large, a large regional, and they just keep acquiring county seat hospitals all around the area. So, we as patients have no ability really to shop. I mean, unless we want to go geographically somewhere else, but if we want immediate care, you're pretty well locked into that particular system that serves that geographic region. And there seems to be less and less, as you said, competitive forces out there that to drive costs down. So I don't see, I mean, post-COVID, we've all heard about that with services needed that are going up that were neglected back in COVID, inflation, higher prices, fewer positions in the hospital. I mean, it's getting to be a perfect storm. And it's, quite frankly, in my opinion, it's become unaffordable for members and unsustainable for businesses. It's out of hand.
Well, thank you, Frank. I want to bring Doug into the conversation. Why and how did you organize and pursue the class action suit against North Carolina-based Beat-It?
Well, you think about this, and so there's a law firm out there that I'm very familiar with, Mona Wallace, who's a great lawyer over there. Really, what we have in this country, it's not a balanced billing problem; it's a billing and collection problem, and it's out of control. And whether the bill is, I mean, it's pretty common for bills. I mean, I think 90% of bills have some error, in it. But hospitals can leverage that through their collection practices to truly, extract and exploit from patients who, I mean, think about this. You're in pain, you broke your leg, you want somebody to help you, you're getting gouged, by the facility. And it really is, it's one of those kind of things where if we can make something like this stick, I mean, how many other health systems operate in the same fashion? A ton.
Mm-hmm. And I guess from personal experience, it's looking at your scenario. I broke my leg. I'm in there in the hospital. I'm signing all kinds of forms, one of which is, hey, whatever your insurance doesn't cover, you're going to be liable for. But
Right.
You haven't given me any idea of how much is it going to cost me. You're just going to be liable for all of it. And
right.
If you don't sign it, there's the door.
That's right.
So
pretty much.
So go a little bit further. I mean, how did what's happening with Beat-It? How do you put together a class action suit?
Well, you put it together just because, a lot of it's serendipity, where you have, like in this particular instance, the member was basically being balance billed 11x Medicare. And the guy was, had a financial background. He knew exactly what was happening. So, he was, what I would call an ideal plaintiff. I mean, understood what was happening, but didn't appreciate it happening to him, and was willing to, step forward and be a named plaintiff. But there's a ton of people out there like that. And, most people, I mean, they give up, they're overwhelmed, don't understand really what's happening in terms of, why is the health system doing this? But yeah, so you're just lucky that way. But again, if you can make it stick, I mean, it's one of those kind of things that you can, basically, franchise it just across the country. That's ultimately the goal.
I'd like to reiterate what Doug said. A lot of people do give up. They just don't have the fortitude to hang with it. And at the end, the last justice asked the Centura attorney, did Centura lose money on the $74,000? And he said no. So it's because that charge master, to understand, as Doug has pointed out and what I've said, it's ambiguous, it's overinflated, it's arbitrary, and it's just crazy.